kind of feel like I should be talking about the AML instead. Anybody's freaked out about the AML? Yeah, well, I'm not talking about that today. But make sure that you join our training. We have a lot of training going on. We've done about 8,000 students so far, 8,000 mortgage professionals. So if you still need to get caught up on the AML, please let us know, reach out and come to our site. You know, as I was listening to that intro, I've been in the industry over 35 years now, and time flies. And I was looking in the mirror this morning as I was getting ready, and it's like, wow, I looked at a picture of me 20 years ago, and I had frosted tips, and now I've got gray tips. And, you know, that made me feel old. But just as a quick point, last night I went to the Sabrina Carpenter concerts. Anybody know Sabrina Carpenter? I didn't go on my own, and I took my 11-year-old. And my 11-year-old and everybody else there made me feel much older than my time in the mortgage industry. There were young girls trying to act older. There were older women trying to act younger. And then there were a group of us dads with daughters who just kind of trying to blend in and not be seen. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk to you about future-proofing your role in the era of AI. As you may have seen, we're going to have this presentation available for you afterwards, so you don't have to take notes. But the first thing that I want to start off with is a question. So you can, if everybody can take out their phones and then scan this QR code. This is a question. Do you think that AI will eventually replace mortgage brokers? And it shows us live feedback. So if you take out your phone, scan this, let's see what you think. Okay, so we're looking at 80-20, at no and yes. So you have an optimistic outlook. Hopefully you have the same optimistic outlook when we're done today. I'm sure you will. So the future ahead, early forecasts have indicated that about 20 to 30% of mortgage brokers are going to be obsolete by 2026. That is one of those statistics that are easily argued both ways. And it all depends on what we do now. I was listening to Jack Canfield, and he has this E plus R equals O. The event plus the response equals the outcome. And that's what we need to look at here. We need to know how we're going to deal with the advent of AI in our industry. AI has already become a crucial player in the mortgage industry. And if you haven't heard of some of these players, you may in the future. Candor provides AI underwriting services, acting as an automated decision engine that evaluates borrower data. Then we have Aquilus uses AI for automated document extraction. ChatUWM or chatbots help with FAQs, scheduling appointments, and so on. This is all coming and being developed as we speak. One of the things that we've been doing, and I mentioned it a little over 30 years in the industry, and that's because for the past 10 years or thereabouts, we've been doing research in this field. We've implemented some AI bots in our courses, and we're developing an AI customer service rep to answer calls after hours. The technology is very exciting. It's also kind of scary. Where AI excels, and it excels at tasks that really require data. And what we should know is that underwriting and risk assessment is where we can really leverage AI. We talk about the AML. The fact that we're going to be able to automate some of the AML processes should come as some comfort to, because that will help us in this field. Data processing and document management, customer service, as I mentioned, is the AI bots that you can start to see. You know what? They're pretty clunky right now. But you compare that to when I was here a year ago giving a chat on using ChatGPT, we were talking a lot about prompt engineering. Do you remember that term? Prompt engineering was big because it was, we all have to learn how to speak to AI. That is becoming much more clear. AI is learning how to speak to us. So who's most vulnerable in our industry? Well, as AI automates routine tasks and tech-savvy platforms provide more efficient, seamless experiences, I can tell you that there are some vulnerabilities. Number one, transactional and low-touch brokers. These are individuals and brokers who look just specifically at transactional, high volume, and low touch, whereas they don't develop much of a relationship. What you're going to be hearing over the next couple of years is relationship, relationship, relationship. That is how we differentiate ourselves from AI that's going to be able to have a conversation with a client like you're having a Zoom conversation, but it won't have the same type of empathy and the same type of human ability to connect that you do. High volume, low interaction brokers, same type of thing. Brokers who rely on volume and minimal client interaction. You start thinking about online brokerages that, especially in the insurance industry, that just do transactions. They're very transaction based, very little human interaction. Then we have low tech or tech resistant brokers. Those are, individuals. I remember, I was trying to do research and find out when the fax machine came out, because I remember fax machines. And I remember talking to people about strategies of getting businesses to buy fax machines. Well, those that didn't buy into fax machines ended up being passed by. I'm not saying fax machines were a godsend, because we probably all got 50 flyers a day through. But the fact was, technology is changing. I used to have a hip-top phone, and I was resistant to change. Then I had a BlackBerry. And then what happened to the BlackBerry? We have to embrace technology as a tool to help us grow our business and grow our market share. Brokers without a digital presence. It's search GPT is coming. We look at Google as the way to find brokers, find people, find services that we need. I was having a conversation with ChatGPT last night, and I asked it, I live in Whitby, so what are some of the best mortgage brokers to deal with in Whitby? It rambled off 3 different mortgage brokers who are in the Whitby area and gave me a slight bio on all of them, so I can make a decision on who I wanted to use. That's scary because it's not using Google. And this is where we have to ensure that we have that online presence. The online presence, like developing more content, not just using content that everyone else is using perhaps in a network. Content that is personal to you and content that is personal to your clients. So here's a key point. Relationship-driven brokers who offer personalized and complex services that focus on client experience thrive in areas requiring intuition, personalized care, and the human spirit. Areas where AI falls short. And it won't always fall short there. There will be a time when AI will be able to mimic an individual and our mannerisms almost perfectly. We have to ensure that our books of business are insulated from that by having these relationships. And here's a great quote. Automation is not about replacing people. It's about freeing people to focus on higher value work. And that's from Tony Hughes, an AI and sales expert. So now that we know that there's an issue, we always knew that this was coming. What can we talk about to future-proof your role? Leverage AI for efficiency, not replacement. Automation of repetitive tasks, that's where AI is going to be key. AI can process thousands of documents per second. You can automate what you've been doing. Some of the roles that are going to be challenged in the future are underwriters. So underwriters, you look at financial institutions. If financial institutions are grabbing this and latching onto it. From those that I've spoken to in the financial institutions where decisions are made, they are attempting to automate and streamlined wherever possible. So that means that their plans are to have individuals online that can meet with their clients as opposed to having to go into the branch. Is there anybody here from the major banks? Show of hands. Okay, I'm not going to talk to you. I just want to know who I'm going to offend at some point in this presentation. Hopefully don't take it seriously. I'm not talking about you, just banks in general. AI for client profiling will also be something that is important. You know, we talk about having a client avatar so that we can market to them. We divvy up our marketing. We go to specific individuals and specific buckets. That's what AI is going to really help. It's going to be able to analyze data that you have in your origination software, whichever one you're using, Velocity Boss, whichever one it is. It'll be able to look at that data and give you avatars of your clients, who fits what, and then allow you to market distinctly and clearly to those individuals. You know, talking about that, I don't know if you heard about this. This was a couple of years ago. I think it was Walmart that started processing data and had so much data on its clients, on its shoppers, that it was able to determine, based on shopping habits, if a woman was expecting a baby. They would then look at that data and market and send flyers to their homes specifically marketing baby products. It started freaking people out. They wondered how they knew that. It's because they were analyzing big data. They were looking at trends. They had those reward cards and everything else. They were analyzing that data and able to target down. They actually had to dumb it down a little bit in the sense of not just sending a flyer, for example, that had baby products in it, but they had to add other products to make it look like it was a generic flyer. This is where the future of marketing is as well. You have to build a strong personal brand. There is something that we've launched, this $1 Billion podcast. And if you would love to check it out, we'd love to check it out. Pop over to our booth, have a look, because the $1 Billion podcast is all about individual stories in our industry. We've interviewed about 30 fantastic individuals, and you might think, you know, I haven't been in the industry that long, or maybe I don't have a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. You have a unique background. You have a unique value proposition. You have a unique outlook on life. Put that into your branding. Make sure your clients understand who you are, because they're going to want to deal with that human being who can relate to them. So check out the $1 Billion podcast. We've got some great people on there who have stories, and that's the reason we started it, because we want to know people's stories. Focus on niche markets and expertise. As you saw the panel before talking about private mortgages and private lending, that is a bit more of a niche market. And you know, you can break down niche markets into anything you want. I remember when I first got into the industry. Does anybody remember Gray Power Insurance? Maybe, yeah, some people who have the hair like I do, you remember Gray Power Insurance. Gray Power Insurance, they put out ads. They were specifically for 50-year-olds and over. If you had reached the wonderful point of 50 years old, you now should be going to Gray Power Insurance to get your auto insurance, because that's who dealt specifically with that demographic. In researching them, I realized they're just another insurance brokerage with a niche. And that's something that we can do. Do you have a program that could help self-employed people? Well, then why don't you go to restaurants and talk to individuals working there? Do you have a program? Do you have a doctor? You get to know what doctors are concerned about. I had a peer advisory group where I had a doctor in the group, and he was telling me, yeah, I use a mortgage broker only because I don't know anything about money, and doctors are historically terrible dealing with money. Do I have any doctors in there? Good. So find your niche and then develop a program for that niche. That's going to differentiate you and make you more indispensable. Create a strong referral network. Leverage relationships. Engage your community. You know, the benefit of you is that you have a unique network. No one else in this room has the same unique network that you do. We talk about that being social media or your friends, your family, whatever that boils down to. Make sure that you are actively using that. Building a strong referral network is going to take time and it's difficult, but you want to ensure that everybody out there knows who you are and what you do. Next, continuous learning and adaptation. You know, I've been in the education industry since the late 90s when I ran the program at Seneca College. And what that taught me early on was how much I didn't know, not just then, but for my entire life. Because going forward, many of my students, many of those who I see in this room, I've had the pleasure of working with in the past, but individuals who come up to me teach me something new every day. And that is important that when you wake up in the morning, my suggestion is think about what can I learn today that at the end of the day, when I'm in bed, going to sleep, and I've done my plan for tomorrow, I now think, what am I grateful for today? What did I learn? And by the way, as a side, if you go to bed and the last thing you think about is what you're grateful for, you're going to have a much better sleep than thinking about, oh my goodness, what is the presentation like I'm going to have to do tomorrow? That was my night. Finally, this is where I come to the banks. Let's talk about competing with banks in the era of AI. Robotic workforce boosting productivity and innovation is a cornerstone of large corporations and the banking industry as well. 80%, we did a survey, 80% of consumers think that bank mortgage reps are accredited or licensed by OSFI or other regulators. Quick show of hands, are they? No. 80% of our consumers think they are. I always used to think that they dealt with their banks because, you know, I grew up with the bank. I had an account. I got a car loan. I have an RSP. I've got some loyalty to my bank. Part of the issue is that consumers are misinformed about bank mortgage reps. Now, bank mortgage reps are phenomenal people. There's probably a lot of you in here that have come into our industry from the banking industry. It's not the individuals. It's the industry itself. It's the process that individuals who work at the bank become a mortgage officer or a loan officer, and they're nowhere near as trained as we are. So you ask yourself the question, and this is where the survey question came from. Ask yourself the question. If we're licensed, we're heavily regulated, and we're trained, why aren't people coming to us more than they're going to the banks? And the survey said, because most people think that they're accredited and they're trained and they're licensed as well. So there's a disconnect there. And what there's a lack of is a level playing field. Now, I don't know what you think of this, but I'm going to ask a question. And my question is, do you think bank mortgage reps should be accredited or licensed in much the same way that mortgage brokers are? So if you pull out your phone, I know I'm going to have one person saying no because I've got a banker in the back. Okay, so let's have a look. 87% say yes, A few percent say no. My opinion is that they should be accredited. There should be the same level playing field. Consumers should know when they go to the bank that they're not getting independent advice and they're not getting the same type of advice that we provide. They don't seem to know that. This is important in the era of AI, as they have control of their clients and now they convert them to dealing with AI. And the whole concept of dealing with individuals and building relationships is going to start to erode. We've already seen that. The adoption of AI in our personal lives and how easily we've started dealing with AI. That's going to continue. And to deal with that, we have to look at those strategies that we just talked about. And when you get this slide deck, take a look at it and think about your own business and how you can employ some of those strategies in your business. Now, if you think that they should be accredited, what I'm going to ask you to do is go and click on that. And we're getting a petition together because you know what? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Politicians, regulatory bodies react to the will of the public. And if there's a will, then we're going to get some changes done. Now, listen, I've been in this industry a long time. I know banks are federally regulated. I know all of the issues around why bank mortgage reps are not accredited and they're not licensed or covered under provincial regulations. But we have an ability to change that. And while we're in an industry, like you saw in the first session today, talking about change, why not take change by the horns and run with it? I think I just mixed a couple of metaphors here, but you get my idea. Take control of the situation and make it work for us. We have the ability to shake things up. So if that's anything of interest to you, make sure that you check out this section. And I thank you very much for your time, and I thank you very much for your participation in those polls. I hope you enjoy this conference. It is amazing. There's a lot of amazing exhibitors, and please come over and say hi and check out the $1 Billion Podcast. Thank you.